I'm going to try to stay on the daily and weekly charts and point out the obvious reversals right at the very edge of the market. And it's kind of hard to believe that it's the best place to get in. You could watch it happen, like that dollar Swiss, which I felt was definitely toppy. It could have pulled back, but did we have a fake out before the pullback? Was there a baby trap before we saw the big gushing wind? So this is the euro to the pound right now, but so to me, these small bars are low risk entry from a stop entry standpoint, and you could trade this currency pretty much like a loghead as far as you're going to buy at support, you're going to sell at resistance, and how do you know which trade plan to invoke? I would say base it on the last 3 bars. Only looking back 3 bars, 4 bars max. Past that, you're just living in the past. I think what's going to matter way more in these markets is going to be stuff like, well, this 100 pip window. And are you going to ride it from here? That stop hunt on the north side, are you going to ride this stop hunt of the bears, where we don't take out this stop, but we get this nice triple 50 pip window, triple sell limit entry, autofill. We also have the goober sell stops. So I'm going to bracket this with limits, and every time it's up in the market, so you would have sold the market here, sold the market here, filled on limits. I'm assuming you're a bear. You think it's a dead cat bounce into this support. And we've also coming into, here's another reason to put a limit. So you have a limit reason here, one here, one here. This one's all gone. We cleared this. That's gone now. This matters, this big tall window here, but not now. So right now we're buying on limits here, all the way down, 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 down. And when it gets below here, I'm going to buy more. Very simple strategy. Buy low, sell high, it's called. Now, if you look way back, you're going to say, oh, well, Jesus. No shit. When it gets here, we're going to buy so much that it's like stupid. You just buy stupid. You would just open up 3 more accounts and just load limit orders in there. How is that not a good trade? I think getting in at the limits is the funnest thing ever invented, because it's just literally the market's coming to you. You don't have to get in front of it. Well, you're going to step out in front of it, but super deep would be the lowest risk entry. Not mention this monster wick on the left side, which is not a bad tick. I must say the thing about Forex that's amazing is that these are real prices. We don't know, the spread could have been 500 pips there, but so right now we're trapped on the monthly. We're still below the floor here. We're caught in bottom tick Tommy land. Right, all the bears are like, yeah, dude, we sold here. In fact, we sold in the middle of this doji as it quietly drifted back to support, and we're looking for another plungeola down here. Of course, I would say just place buy limits down here. And just as it goes down lower, you're going to buy more. Sorry, it's just how it is. I mean, there's people that are they say martingale doesn't work, really? Okay, so you're selling tons here on this rooftop. You're selling tons here, which eventually became a winning trade. And you're selling all the way to the top of this wick, which you're disappointed that they didn't take it up there. So it would have been 300 pips is basically that window. And I doubt that we're going to get the thrust, because it's really, as soon as you compress this chart just right, it tells a different story. Right, from an auction scenario, we've been down here. We trapped them, the bears, the people that think it's going to keep tanking because they drew a trend line here. Just to suppose there's a guy out there. And we also have a triangle, so we're saying lack of volatility. And of course, everybody gets giddy when it makes this new high here. So this is the kind of the hope for the bulls, is that we're breaking out. And as soon as we go after this stop and this stop and this stop, we're just going to go blasting up. It'll be a 3-drive move. I'm sure you've heard the 3-drive scenario. We're always counting on these drives. So we're counting on a bunch of scenarios. We're also thinking that maybe this area left behind has more importance at the moment than this wedge that we're hoping gets crushed out. And of course, if it's a long thing, it'll be a fast crush. So the pent-up demand here, as you cut into this price, and of course that's 300 pips of punishment if you sold the top of that. But you already knew because of this giant wick that you had to be on guard to psychotic markets. So you can get a sense of what's probably available, I think. And this would be another big problem in trading, is that people will test this shit with 2% of their account, not realizing that the market is going to go bonkers. And if your trade plan's built around some ATR stop or something, it's just as bad as hedging. You know, I mean, at some point you got to realize, no, you're going to have to wait 3 months to buy this thing. On the monthly chart, you're waiting for them to crush it down. But one day, if you have the orders in there just pending for a month, every month you're going to refresh all your swing trades. Hey, you're going to make money. It's not a scalper's world. But here it's painfully obvious. Also, I'd say for the bulls, the argument is that this top has just become a bottom at this 100-yard pivot, or this is the big pivot we need to overcome. It's getting quiet. How much demand is building up on the top and on the bottom? So I think this is going to be, as soon as we dip into this one, don't forget about it. So you'd have to be prepared to buy in here, maybe in the summertime. I'd realize a monthly chart, for God's sakes, man. What are we going to do? Come down here? I'd love to buy it there. Who wouldn't, right? You'd have to be out of your fucking mind not to buy it down here. Well, I want to see what kind of candle we get. No, it wouldn't matter. Look at this delicious buy right here. What's going on now may be the last auction for a while as we go climbing up and try to annihilate this area. It's just kind of like a big giant hunt. And if we ever take out this, forget about it, right? Forget about it. But it could tread water for like 3 years on this chart. And everybody's just looking for some big monster move like, hey, you know what? That was it. You missed it. Or look at this. 1 month hard down. 400 pips in 1 month. Boom. If you just bought when it was down, buy. 2 buys. Could scalp one, still holding. Maybe you'll see this price one day. Hold on for a year as they come into this rooftop. It's retarded. It's just nothing but this building that's happening. It's unfolding. This is your classic kind of wave 4 iffy. This could be the big end of this currency pair. You can see a dramatic resistance here. It's foiled again. Spills into here. And we have to trade it from limits that are deep set. But if you're going to go from currency pair to currency pair on the monthly, yeah, you could probably keep track. You go to the daily, you go to the weekly, it's just more noise. So if you're a low noise trader, put the monthly chart up. I think it gives you the best picture of these giant places we could go. The outskirts of town. And don't forget the guy that bought this big fucking wedge that just got cleaned out. He's buy. He's like going, oh my God. He scalps to here. He's up on every ticket. Then it starts to cut into the terribly bullish robots that get trapped in a trend trade, right? Because here's the trend. Everybody's like, oh, it's still going up. We're in the cloud. And, even got a hammer. Beautiful. Let's just buy at the market. Let's chase it. Looks so good, that trade. Then we put our money management stops in, and so does every other fucking robot on the planet, right? And here is the pressure. This is the tipping point. But kind of a failed crush unless we can keep crushing now. It seems like these markets move very hard, drift. Oh, baby double top. Top becomes a bottom on the monthly, but the wicks. I mean, who's be able to trade without a stop? People that are the whole crowd is getting in and out and fluxing at these pivots. Right? People are getting on board, people are getting off the train. The long-term destination of this thing doesn't matter to somebody. I mean, it's a monthly chart. I mean, in 2 months, you could have made a clean smack of pips into an obvious resistance and be like, yeah, wow, I see. Yeah, that's that 3-month move is going to be brutal. You could probably drop down to the weekly, and you're putting in orders that make sense on the weekly they could last a month. But it looks very obvious. Once you look at the stop hunt factor on the monthly, you're going to get in against, you're going to trade the fake out on the monthly and the weekly. You're actually trading the fake out zone, where it is on the 1 hour, you could be trading a real breakout. In other words, there's a triple top on the 1 hour. But on the monthly, you're coming in, or the weekly, you're coming into last week's high, or you have not made a higher high in 8 weeks, and you have a trailing buy stop is your first kind of starter trade, like a starter wife. And you might get stopped out of that. But you're also thinking about, if it's going down at 100 pips per hour, maybe you're running 100 pips 1 hour tickets in front of it that last an hour, or they last for 5 hours. Like 6 hours or 12 hours, right? But in the end, you're probably just going to have them last all day, because if you can't figure out where to buy and where to sell, based on these kind of extreme areas on the chart where the market's literally at the peak moment, it's done. It has gone up too fast in a short period of time, so it's a time vacuum. And it also becomes a price vacuum because it's pent up demand. It's like wave 3 would be, you're about I don't know, maybe you're like 30 years old, and then consolidation, you're 60, and then maybe you have one last romp for 20 years and you're dead. So it's like a life cycle of the. Everybody wants to trade wave 3, right? I think they have a store called Forever 21, right? So I suppose if you're in the trade for 8 years on the monthly chart, but these kind of timelines people have, and of course, in 1 month or 2 months in a row, it's insane on these currency pairs. So there's all kinds of scenarios here, but I don't trade this thing. I'd have to have a whole separate account just for this one currency. I just could not try to sync this to the dollar versus the U.S. dollar, because they don't correlate. I mean, there's times they do, and then I feel tricked by it. Oh, look at these, make sense together. Yeah, it's the euro. It's very strong across the board. Of course, maybe not against the yen for some odd reason. Whatever's going on out there. So, depending on the voids left behind by illiquidity, really. I mean, the most spikiest of charts are going to be the ones where there's nobody there to take the trade. So I get this on the demo all the time. I could pull the trigger in Asia here, and the platform's not even going to respond, because I'm trying to trade the New Zealand to the yen or something. CAD yen in Asia. Depending on your broker, you can't even do the trade. It's not going to let you. Whereas the euro, all day long, even through bad news, it's pretty stable, It's kind of a boring currency, I suppose, but it has its moments. You really have to load up and see that as you take the throttle off the size and you go to lighter trades, yeah, you can swing trade all these other ridiculous currency pairs with a 50 pip stop, and you don't care about the spread then. You are paying But you're paying for a high probability trade in a way because it's a very rangy market. Dollar CAD. Finally made some money selling the dollar CAD earlier, so that was an adventure. So we're wrapping up Asia now, and I loaded the wagon on the pullback of the. Somebody said they sold the top of the euro dollar. I can see it on the chart here. The top tick Tommy there. Another one of those silly auction trades. We just clear off the very top of it. But yeah, it's been ridiculous. So I assume the Fed did not change their rates or anything. It looked like pretty tame behavior. They bid it up into the news and slam it. I don't know why people are afraid to trade the news. But it's kind of obvious. Some of these things, if you've ever lost money in the news, you probably would be afraid to trade it, but it's just because you're in too big, I think. You just have to give the market some room. Dollar CAD was a nice slam here. So I got this, I got filled down here, and I got in too early, so this is my losing. I'm underwater on this ticket. But I had these orders in earlier. I picked out this premium area, so I knew that was definitely, and here's where you want a martingale in, is right down here. And actually, every time it goes back, every 4 hour kind of thing here, I would buy very heavily here and super heavy here because it's below the round number. It's also the only low that you can attach. And look at this giant area. You're looking at the shelf here. And that is insane. If you could have gobbled up and could afford to buy this whole window and only get filled on half of that, that's a good trade, because I would dump everything right here into the floor like most people did in this 10 pip window here. You have to be out of your mind not to take something off the table on that smashing move. I mean, that was brutal. And here would be the contention point, I suppose, right now. This window of this doji carried forward. It's going to be a new. Now I put buy limits in here now. Maybe starting down here to be safe, right? So if you want to be on the safe side, you're going to put an order, place your mouse right on this triple bottom and just be buy limit. Yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? If we ever crush down to here, you want to buy here too. But you'd also want to buy a pack all the way down in those areas. Place a bunch of high intensity, there's scalps in there, there's swings in there. You can decide once it retraces, if it does a perfect retrace like that, where it's just so ridiculous, it comes ridiculously back at that rate of change, yeah, get the fuck out. I'm going to hold this guy until it goes up here. Maybe take a loss on that. Another thing is I don't like to lose, so when I trade without stops, I basically dump it, come back in and go, okay, we could do this. And then if you crank up your size and you get you still have to get out of these trades though, because you're going to ruin your average. You try to get a 90% hit rate if you're trading without stops. And because you got to just get the fuck out, because holding on, you can't hold on to it if you don't have a stop. So you have to take the money and run. And that's why Hilton makes money trading, because he just in and out. He's probably in Asia or something, or just maybe it's the afternoon, right around stocks close and stuff, and just take a little high probability moves, So here I wouldn't have a problem putting a 4 hour order in 10 pips deep, 8 hour, 20 pips deep, and so on and so forth into the future. And, for the person that wants to either hit the button or the robot, I wouldn't trust the robot to perceive the velocity of these moves. So it's better to hand place the order and just count on some kind of crazy stuff going on at some point by the end of the month. So you got basically 1 month. You should be able to take, a small size account to, let's say, $400 account. You should be able to make without, you might not be at $800, You might end up at 1,000 or 600, but gosh, you got to hope you can make take a $400 account in 1 month and make at least a modest amount. Let's just hope $300 a month. For most people, that's a decent chunk of money. And you are kind of well, at that point you want to trade with stops, I guess. But you're risking $100 a week. Allows you to be right and wrong on stuff. I mean, if you do a hard dollar stop of 10 or $5 per ticket, then 10 tickets. How many times you rinse and repeat though? And how could you really, without pushing? Okay, so if you're trading on limits only, that's a different world than at the market. So you might want to have a dedicated market terminal, so you always know that when you're on there, you have to have coffee in you or something. And if you're going to lay in bed and drop orders randomly because you wrote a script that throws them out there in some array that you think is interwoven enough to soften the blow and kind of, in the end, the ratios are good and you're not going to overstrike the button. In other words, if you're going to, okay, so you wake up and you want to just put in 3 limit grids in there, they have to be so they don't overlap. You don't want any redundancy. And it's a problem because if you like the idea of buying 20 pips deep, you might just say, I don't have a script that goes 40 pips deep, but I do have this 20 pip script, and I'm just going to double click it, which is not really a good idea because it's like wallpapering the chart instead of like having a really organic staggering of your limits. Because now you're going to start to duplicate a bad idea, possibly a bad a bad kind of scheme. Because if you have it so there is a master stop, and it's going to not only get in, say you're going to get in half, quarter, you keep cutting it down, and as you get denser near the bottom, size goes up, but since you have a hard stop, the first ticket is the same risk as the bottom ticket. You'd have to adjust the math, the spacing, to kind of have that. So in your mind's eye, when you hit that button, you know that that's some like linear grid, but it is getting bigger and bigger tickets as you get near the bottom. But in the end, you're risking maybe $40 or something. You're allowed to. Of course, if you hit this button more than once, you kind of fucked up because now you're risking 80 when you should be risking 40 on that scheme, and then you have a deeper layer in another market. The same idea of buying low, selling high without really, ideally you're hand placing all this stuff at the true edge of that deep void that goes back more historically than any other void. In this drift portions here, there are high probability drifts where, it's not that bad. We're in Asia now. Okay, I can see this thing kind of drifting up. Dollar CAD drifts up, kind of goes for about a 12 pip move here. Okay, trade really heavy, get out, and then just dump limits in because I guarantee these markets are always going to go on sale. Like, I may see that I really like this trade, and I'm like, oh God, we're going to retest, really? So I want to go flat. I want to bank. If I can make $400 in 8 hours, I think I'm happy. So I'm like, that's okay. Now, sometimes I get so excited about what I'm seeing that I really, if it wasn't for the scripts, I think I'd have a problem because a lot of the times they don't fill, and I think, gosh, I should have put in a more longer lasting order because I just, I was being too timid and I was putting in orders really deep that only lasts for like 4 hours, thinking, well, 4 hours, the market can move pretty hard in 4 hours, and I don't want to. You never want to be undersized or oversized for any move that you actually we're able to kind of see before it happens, so to speak. At least say, okay, I know where the goalposts are. We've satisfied the void. Now we're trapped in the middle on the 4-hour chart. We're down off the highs, going sideways. We're either going to get a spike up or a spike down, or a drift up, a drift down. Now we're going to go sideways. We could go sideways, but guaranteed we're going to, on some time frame, we are going to have maybe a triple top on the 5 minutes. Finally, it starts. There's a beautiful triangle on the 15-minute chart. I mean, you could see patterns show up that are obviously, every doji has a triangle or a flag or a pennant or a whatever inside of it. And so even staring at the 4-hour chart, you kind of picture this. Well, we could still be dripping down on the 15. We're not done tanking. Even though here it looks like a premium buy, not like the best. We could still get it cheaper. I'm sure it could drop 10 pips, and then we could just keep tanking, for God's sakes. So those kind of assessments. I mean, I can't get too carried away. Like I said, the best trades happen when you're probably not awake, or you're not, maybe in your car. If you're trading in your car, that's different. You have to be careful. At least the scripts there, you could just press a button and drop them. I wouldn't want to be trying to dial in a really sweet entry that you thought made sense in the big picture here. Now, the 4-hour picture here looks like a whole different world of a whole new world. Because you could have just kept buying like a fucking idiot here at the 100-yard line and giving it, actually buying below if you're cheap, slightly above on the double bottom. So, I mean, is this dumb or what? We never made it to the 100-yard line here, but you got to say that for the most part, this looks like a big deal. Dollar CAD, the 100 pip yard line, still in force, still a ranging market, still brutal to any trend trader that attempts to trade this currency pair. Unless you consider this the trend. Okay, now that was an amazing move. Unbelievable. But see, if you look at this chart, you can really see the time that you need to be pulling the trigger. Like any time the market is below that white line and you see it. But here's why. You probably just want to put a big fat pending here, and you actually don't get filled till later on. And they just have enough money in the account to buy all the way to here, and then you just barely get filled, and you think, oh, yeah, I see how that works. We look for the lonely wick, and we just start putting sell limits up there. And this was the best trade, I think, this week for the people that have the balls to step in front of that thing, just put fucking sell limits on the top of this March 7th bullshit. Fuck all these bulls and all these... Oh, I don't sell tops. Oh, really? How are you making money? You got to get this fucking entry here. And even the guy that bought theirs, he was above water even a little bit earlier today. I mean, the guy that bought that, he's like, so you buy 10K here, you buy 80K here, and you buy 150K there. And then, you know what? You're ready to buy, like 300,000K here. But it never fills. And you're like, God, next time, I think I'm going to donate that resource to here. So it's all about getting the estimated plunge. If you're going to catch a falling knife, you're going to have to count on it. Like once we take out this price, this is a 4-hour chart. This is insane, right? You're just going to go up. You need to tell me that we're going to take out the weekly high by just 10 pips. And in the mere space of 5 bars down, we're going to rip all the way here and hunt down the weekly in a 20 pip window. And that's how you make money trading. There's no moving average. This makes sense. I mean, why do you think it ripped back so hard? This is one pissed off fucking currency pair. What this is? It's dollar Canadian, man. We get their ass handed to them trying to trade this fucker as a trend. Where in God's green earth do you see a trend on this thing? Well, here's a nice uptrend, and then, woof. I liked here. Here was nice and bullish, and then, woof. What the fuck? Here we got a board. Remember we bought that top became a bottom? Remember that, Jake? Yeah, dude, we rode it to here, and then all of a sudden, bam. I said, what the fuck? They're hunting my stop again. Hank, remember that trade we got in? Remember that moving average crossover system you were studying? Yeah. Well, look. We sold up here at the crossover, but we didn't get out here, so Hank added more here. This breakout. He's like, fuck. And then we didn't get out. We're like, shit. Hell, we're barely up on this trade. I mean, these are wicked markets. I like this bottom become a top here, and this just becomes just a source of just utter frustration for any good bull that just wants to see this thing succeed. Like I said, it's a flunky. This currency is it's dysfunctional. Come on, people. The fuck, double bottom? We're gonna go to? Well, we're just gonna fucking range? Oh, this goes on for 3 weeks. You'll love trading this pair. My trend trading system's getting all blown up. No shit, really? Like, who's not selling up here? Who's not buying down here right now? So, getting this thing right, and maybe we are going to come down here, and then I can load the wagon on this area and just be like, oh yeah, come on. It is so stupid. So I have this potential student that I have to tell him that this is sound waves, that he's placing these things called buy limits. Maybe I'll just make it invisible. He can't see what it says. I could make this so it doesn't say anything. So you see this? It's called shuffleboard. We're going to try to stop them from getting over here. So I want you to take these. I'll rename them. I think it's the only way to get somebody that doesn't want to wipe their brain out thinking about buying and selling. Be like, okay, these are red lines and these are blue lines, and we're going to play red line, blue line game. If you show this to somebody that you kind of know what the rules of the game are, and you know that the orders last every day, so every day they do those orders, and then you check on what they did. So this would also presuppose that this is the classic thing. Can you describe your trade plan to somebody? If you have a real trade plan, you should be able to tell somebody very simple terms. This is where I get in. This is what I do. If it goes up, I sell. It goes down, I buy. Okay, great. Well, it goes down real big, I just get in the smallest size possible with a wide stop. If it goes up really big, I get in the smallest size position for that account and sell at the market. Oh, what time frame? Okay, well, let's try to keep it to the 4-hour chart so we don't blow out the account. And we'll swing trade it with these catastrophic moves, on the 4-hour, and just be like, hey, I'm in. And then be like, okay, I got to scalp out of this thing. We're right back to the seller's window. I got just, and then you just have to have an expectation that it's probably going to go higher. It's probably going to go lower. So it's this kind of deliberate order placement. And of course, like I said a million times, once they fill you and they don't blow up your account, you're going to wish you bought more because you're going to say, wow, that thing is really just ranging. I mean, for all my fantasies of a trend here, and I guess I could tell you it's an uptrend, and the most amount of money you made was on these kind of moves where I can only see 2 glorious trends here. This one and this one are just epic, where this one is probably making new highs. The rest of this is just auction upon auction, inside auctions. Bond becomes a top, and then we trap here, come down, trap these people. On the way to the trap, we do have a so-called trend. we're climbing into the window, and then we're spilling down into this one, and we have this beautiful double bottom. Like, you could have bought here and assumed we're going to retest entry. The no-nonsense Forex guy will not trade like that. What is wrong with his mind? It's because he wants an indicator to tell him, oh, we're overbought. You know what we do? And he's probably looking at some downtrend caused by his, maybe he's got I'm assuming what he has is a moving average that's adaptive. So if the market heats up, it's one of these kind of hybrid indicators, I'm assuming, that he's like, no, dude, I figured it out. Like, it's like this. Okay, I got that, right? You're selling overboughts when your weird-ass 30-period moving average that nobody uses, so I would use that right off the bat. But it's kind of like, okay, we're a nice entry here. Okay, we were oversold, I bought. But denying this, okay, so denying the stop hunt here, the limits, as you kind of go, the perfect structures are already laid out, right? You got support, and then you got this big, like, holy shit zone. Like, once you take out this floor, and don't forget, you've been kind of chunking into this, right? And we go sideways, we're dojiing out. What could possibly go wrong? Well, we're either going to go here or there. You could plan for both things. And they wouldn't be baby traps, and you really have to take some, you need to have a diversified risk thing. So you're going to have soft risk, hard risk. You're going to have stuff where, okay, when the news, you just knew they were going to go berserk into some area, and if it ran out of sellers down there, it's going to go up. If it ran out of buyers, it's going to go down. I think that people prefer to look at the cloud thing, and it does look, I mean, once you understand what momentum, in other words, real-time price action into a momentum cloud, so this kind of river, that's cut out. In other words, the market's pushing hard enough to have either rapid rivers or deep, slow river. So you have the high velocity river point where it's very tight, and then once it gets into the big pool, it slows down, it drifts into the... so the rapids really are these insane blasting moves. And then we come around the corner and we're in the deep low current. And then we could go back into the other situation. But wow, I mean, yeah, definitely I'm going to hold this. Try to get another 10 pips back. So I'd actually be seller at this point here, I think. Just because I don't want to look at this trade. This is another psychological reason I can't trade all these pairs, is because maybe I should hold on to here and at least take some winnings out of this for such a bad entry on the buy side. And having hand placed that and really have no stop, I will tell you straight out, that's irresponsible trading. But I mean, to just throw it in here and prove to yourself that all the limits that I placed in here made total sense from a standpoint of actually buying more the deeper it went and having enough money to buy down here. It's a great fucking stupid ass trade plan that makes so much money. It's like, I'm going to buy from here down, no questions asked. I don't care what the fucking pattern is. In fact, when it gets below here, I'm buying more than I buy here in this first window. So yeah, these are going to wider. Everything has a 100 pip stop. You're risking $15 per trade. You could buy all the way down into that. And the ones you put on here, you're not really risking 15, because do you really think it's going to drop 150 pips from here to here? Okay, maybe it is, right? I mean, you would have said the same thing. If you would have bought here with a 100 pip stop, people would say, are you fucking nuts? You just stream them all the way down here. Every 5 pips, right? Now, you have to see this hole first. That's what you're trying to buy, the hole that's being filled. It's just a retarded trade plan. Buying this void. Now here you can say, yes, if you didn't scalp out of this first gush to here, yes, you could have blown up your account. Not to mention, if you bought this with only a 30 pip stop, I think this guy was talking about running tight stops on these plunges. You can't. If you're going to buy here, you got to count that this first one, you got to put a wide stop in that one. That first vacuum. This one, yeah, you could tighten them up. You could have a big master stop here that you, now here's where you'd have to hand place the stop. So I don't believe in that, because then you'd have to say, oh, I'm going to drag, I'm going to get in limits here, and there's going to be a stop down here. It's pretty hard to write a script that's going to nail that on a double click, or drag and drop on the screen. It's just not going to, I mean, that's so custom fitted. What you'd have to say is, I will hand place orders with a $5 stop, 50 pip stop, and I'm just going to pack them in here and lace them in by hand. And when we get to here, I'll be so seriously long this thing, but we actually never made it to this window here. But if you were loaded for bear, you could do it. And even above, I would pay 10 pips above and 10 pips below with a 30 pip stop at the round numbers. I mean, this is a dumb trade plan, but it's does pretty good. I mean, here you could say, well, they stop me out. Yes. I'm not going to say, I'm just using it as a dollar amount risk. Any one of these 10 pip handles in other words, if you're going to look for a 20 pip stop, you're running stops like this, trailing behind the market. So as a 20 pip stop, it looks like X. Here's your, you're running a 20 pip trailing stop, right? And then finally here, well, they back up on you here. You get stopped out. That's quite a run. With every 4 hours, the robot's going to manage this trade for you. Well, that's the reason why people that assume this is fair value and they just want to buy this little mini plunge here, and they're like, oh, I'll buy here. Certainly that strategy here, you had to scalp something out of that, because you got a couple dead cat bounces. It's flailing. This is just too big of a hole. That's all there is to it. And of course, this is a very fast, quick and dirty hole, and that has to be quick and dirty answered. So it looks like I could hold this till I'm just slightly above water, and a lot of sellers are probably going to come here. I'm still buying this Australian dollars at plunges, though. So I came in here and bought some more. All the way down again. I never got out. So, unfortunately for me, I'm so eager to see this thing fill. Yes, the sellers came in here. So, you could have sold this 10 pip window against me. Now, if I bought there on a stop, that was dumb. Which I think I got filled just below that. Thank God I didn't buy here. At least I'm not top tick Tommy, for God's sakes. I bought back into the nest of insanity. But now here we come ripping back. And I will buy more and chase it now. So on the 1 hour chart here, that's the daily, by the way. The 4 hour chart, the big plunge here. And here comes the ultimate. I'm just going to keep buying this right now. We've got 5 minutes before 9:30. I'm looking for maybe news is coming out. I hope it is. I never bought more in my life of this fucking currency. And it really barely moves, so that's why I bought so much. Look at this thing. This poor broken currency. Another one of those crowd-funded trades. Double bottom. No brainer. Buy the retest. Dumb fucking trades. But I was a little eager. I must say, I thought we were going to crush north like we did. Did not fill that. So actually, I'm getting a better deal. No fill. So I just loaded heavy in. Still up $5,000. So my best was up 7,500. That was my best. New Zealand dollar I'm buying too. Bought it down here. I feel like I'm chasing it now, but I must say this is the floor we expect to reject now. This currency doesn't cost a lot to trade, I don't think. It's not the guppy. It's hard to blow up your account with this thing. Look, it's barely moving. 100 pips on this thing take forever. Look at the daily chart, my God. Here's another example of the 100-yard line being a dumbass trade. A 50 pip stop. Take your 100 pips and run. But we fell in this hole pretty good. Looks like we're still tanking. Looks beautiful on the daily. Like it's totally going to go up. Totally going to chase down all these goobers here. That's just too much pressure. So since we've already done the smash below here, we've got to get back to here. We already made it to there, so the scalpers dumped out. The trend traders came in. At this point in the daily, right, all the breakout, confirmation, time to sell. And they want to see this situation. And the market may have a big issue with like ripping up here. And a lot of people are going to sell here, I think. They're going to sell there, there, there. There's the new stops to be 100, I suppose. Otherwise, it's going to be, once we take this thing out, it's just going to keep tumbling. Well, first we got to take out this. And if you're selling at the market, yeah, you would have sold here and here, and you were up on both of those trades. You could be up on a lot of trades just getting in like that. Like it's up, you sell. It's up, you sell. Down, you buy. Down, you buy. The bigger it's down, the more you buy. But here, you never, ever see any more than that. Because this is the problem. It's coming back to here. You've got to have something to get out in the seller's window. Then another crush. And here's where it does pay off to buy this giant shelf. Because it does become, this ticket becomes a top tick inside of that. And all of these are just killer entries. Because if you martingaled in and you never got filled on here till here, here's where you got to have so much dry powder to lay in here and go, I'm buying that. Because of this, and we never took this wick out. Not even last month. But that was it. I think we're trapped here. I think if we get above here, it's going to be ripping. At least here I'm selling. Here I'm going to sell. And this slot, this window here is a big deal. So it's like a hand-drawn jigsaw. I would just go to the most current view. It's going to be this hole is a big deal. And this one is the big old, so we're either going to go hunt this guy's stops, or we're going to keep melting. And it would probably pick up some serious speed there. I would count on the worst case scenario. So when the market really heats up, count on it just being like, holy shit, even though you started buying here, you need to really load the wagon in this void, because that is going to make up for being underwater on this till this becomes a winning trade at some point. So when you see this thing ripping down, I get so giddy. I'm just thinking, oh yeah, if they ever hit here, how is this not the best place to buy? And why wouldn't you trade reversals? I just don't get it. Are you afraid it's going to keep going up if you sell here? Of course, here, the problem is that this is a low volatility setup. And, you know, if you're really going to sell, because it's up into structure here, sell with a 50, 100 pip stop and build a short position here and say, oh yeah, someday we're going to hit this just giant cave, and it's just going to crush, it's going to erode, crush in, and then just clean that out, bam, and now it's ridiculous. And I think I would be, hopefully I bought at the end of the day. But I'm buying the the Australian dollar. So I'm kind of piggybacking. I'm going to go with the one that has the best deal against the dollar. And this one I've got it like, it looks similar. I don't like to get these two correlated too either because this one did make new lows where I say the Australian dollar is kind of in a, boy, the floor here is you're right up in front of it. So there's this giant hole here that could be a problem. Looks like we've already fallen in the hole here, so. Here's the old dollar yen. I did buy this on the Plungeola. Got filled. Should probably scalp out of that pretty soon. They're hunting down these daily bars now. All the scalpers can't wait to sell these new highs. I say I probably might take profits right in the middle there. So conservatively, I'll get out there. And of course, the sell order's got to come in here next week. This should be ripe for the pickings of some kind of ricochet off of that. Right now, it looks like a great trade. I got some pull. I pulled the trigger here, and some of these are like planned out trades. Last all day. Everything's kind of ripping. I can see why people want to have 20 screens, but the weekly chart, you got to figure you hopefully you got out at this 100-yard line. You know, that was the exit. I'd say anything here, this 30 pip rooftop, you knew people were going to sell that easy. Never made it to here though. I suppose we're going after this next. If we keep going up, I would put the buy limits in here now. Go to sleep and maybe they come smashing back. I would count for a smash to here. If it gets below here, bet more. Here, bet a little bit less, and then just start at the bottom and then come up and just get in lightly. Maybe you got like tickets here, and you got some that are longer lasting here in case you do come back to the cloud, so to speak. Here, this looks like it's going to rip north now. It looks like a real urgent move to say here. Yeah, this thing's very tight currency. Look at how brutal this was. So here was a top tick Tommy move. Right up here, there's a double top. In fact, this, because it's slightly different, guaranteed fill though. 20 pips stop on that. I'm sure that people were hoping for it to slam to here. But it could have slammed either way. Very tame move. You can hardly tell that's a news event. Of course, this walk down to here took quite some time. So you see these markets walk back into here, and you can only imagine how bearish people are at this point. I mean, how bearish could people be? This one gasp and then down, and people are like so bearish. So like, you're buying that? What are you, fucking nuts? Oh yeah, I'm buying that whole thing. And then it doesn't even get down to here, which you wish it would, but oh, that's for later on. Later on when we crush everybody that thinks, oh yeah, it's just going to go to nothing. It's going to par. Well, it's got 1,000 pips to go, right? 1,800 pips. 1,100 pips to go. But, hey, I'm going to cash out here and scale out. And then maybe by Friday, we can get in here and there'll be a nice rip back off of this window up here. But I don't want to think more than 2 price pulses ahead. I'd say this is definitely a big deal. And we run trailing buy limits tonight if we're not in. And we're counting on one of these things. And maybe it does come down here and do a double bottom. So if you're prepared for this also, you have like a big pack of tickets here. I call this the Mexican hat trade. Do you want to buy the rim where your head goes, get in lightly? Call this sombrero trade. No offense. But yeah, you can make up all sorts of, you could have a course like that, you know. The south of the border trade. Or these are all the immigrants trying to get across the border, and then also the wall gives way. You can have some probably inappropriate scenarios for these markets. This is actually when they had the cholera outbreak at the border, because it turns out a bunch of people are coming across the border with parasites on them. It's crazy. Remember that time you ran that trailing stop and it worked out so good, and you're like, dude, I'm just protecting my profits on the daily chart. Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. See? Look at, I got in here, just like you said, at new lows, ran my trailing stop. I made money. But of course, yeah, I think ultimately you're slightly long, slightly short, because of some of these windows are just amazing. It's just, what can you say? I mean, the market, it just keeps on giving total chaos to people, handing it out to them. And they're just trying to get their fucking Renko chart running properly, their tick bars, or my linear regression's just acting up today. Look at this top tick Tommy shit up here. And I'd say it also involves this is the conspiratorial situation, is this. So that goes way back there. And that is the cause for the effect, in my unhumble opinion. That is the place to get in. The very top, just like the very bottom. How do you know they're not going to keep going up here? You don't. But I would say I'm selling all the way to here. On limits, no-brainer trade. May not get filled right now, of course. The other option is run trailing limits here and try to hunt the bull stops, because at some point we're going to have to backfill. You can be the guy that just gets in on backfills. So you could have sold this lonely wick all the way up and had enough money to, ideally you get filled on half the bank and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to blow up this engine. It's kind of like a race car. You know, you could win the race and then you can't trade that account anymore because you just flipped it, like you quadrupled it in 1 week. You should probably just literally stop trading. I mean, if you've never had that amount of money, it's the same as having that amount of loss, because you probably could lose twice as much in half the time, because if you just got there because you just, on a fluke, I guess, you just hit buttons and you're like, oh, it's crazy, I'm up, I think I'll get out. It's completely different than realizing what's going on based on what reference people have for price. If gold goes to $3,000 an ounce or $10,000 an ounce, there's going to be a big problem. Just like when the British pound was at $1.60 or $2.20 and it fell apart. I mean, it's just free fall. There's nothing in its way. There's no resistance. It's just crushing into some zone. And if it's historical, it's even scarier, because then it could move in gap leaps, you know. So these gaps that people are trading, gaps, yeah, because gaps don't always fill. The market's screaming. It's being raped. No offense to rapists, but let's face it. And even here on this daily, if you look at it right, I guess you could make the argument it's in a downtrend. Are any of these markets in a trend? Honestly. Oh, well, the guppy's going to rip north now. This currency's so pissed off. It's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, this thing's... Well, the yen's in trouble. Let's face it, the yen. Well, apparently the dollar... Yeah, the dollar's about to kill the yen again. Look at... So this looks like a great trade on this time frame. only because it looks like that classic, like, unstoppable situation. Yeah, weekly looks decent. So if you were buying the stop hunt here, you're still underwater on that top ticket. I think you could have got out earlier. So it's kind of hard to see it now, but I drew that on the... I should have drawn that on the daily. But yeah, if you were selling up there, wow. Of course, these were good sells here too, I think. This window right here didn't pay as good. I mean, they took it higher. So if you're running 10 to 50 pip stops, I'd definitely buy down here if we ever make it there. So to be a little bit riskier, I'm going to buy from here and engulf this. And when I get here, I'll definitely buy more, bigger, right? So bigger tickets. This I'm just buying at the market like a complete idiot. So I'm just so bullish on this damn trade. I do think this is a big triple bottom here, and I do think we're done tanking. The monthly is psychotically bearish. I mean, there's not even a chance. It looks like it's just going to keep crushing down. This is an inverted hammer last month. But I don't know. I'm having fun. Besides, I could get out right now and call it quits. $4,600. I'm trying to get to my $10,000 profit by the end of the week. I don't think I'm ever going to get filled on these tickets here. But I hate to chase this thing. It looks brutal on the weekly. Like we're just... I feel like it's the party's over there for me, but... Because I still think the British pound could come smashing back here. So I'd start my buy limits here. Still got a big sell window there. But yeah, it would take some getting used to. I would have to be on the daily chart to trade all these pairs. Maybe the weekly. These look like great buys on the weekly. So I'd just be like this. Okay. I would trade with stops, though. If this is real money, even though this looks like a stupid-ass no-brainer entry, still... that could end up getting it be a disaster real quick. Yeah, I would still buy bigger and fatter tickets here, and then when we got to here, I'd be like, okay, we're just going to buy so much of this, it's going to be ridiculous. I just think the dollar is going to kill the Canadian dollar eventually. But everybody's going to be selling here. Everybody is going to sell there. Of course, are they trapping people now? Are people buying this trap? I guess. The daily, it was certainly a good place to hold it until this big crush. But I think the daily tells the story of this being the daily stop hunt. So you buy that window, have enough money to buy here, and just never get filled and think, oh, I got to trade it more aggressive, go to the forward chart, and then just be like, oh, well, this is way more work. Here it looks like you just want to buy right now. Here's the 4-hour robot getting in. So the breakout bot, a little trapped here maybe, but this can be a trend trade for the 4-hour bot. Hopefully taking profits on the way to this area, because we don't know if we'll even hit that. Sometimes it doesn't happen. And that's why not every trade plan that you think, oh, well, I'll just buy here. It looks like we're going to go up because here's my pivot. And we should hold this, but not quite. Once we fill this, no, still nobody. And then here, because it's the 4-hour chart, this is like a huge, big deal. And if you bought at the market, because you happen to see the 4-hour chart at that time, you're kind of getting the killer entry from your limit too. And then you buy one more, and then you stop buying. Maybe you do have buy stops here for some type of confirmation. Right here, the buy stop gets filled. I guess this guy that sold here on the trend, he's kind of missed out on his profits. If he didn't cash out something on the way down there. They came back and stopped him. They didn't stop him out, I guess, because if his stop is trailing here now, he's still short. Maybe he moved his stop to here now. So this will give us fuel. And it's just the stop stacking up is just auto fuel. I'm sure a lot of computers are doing it, whether they're retail or professional. Looks like an obvious, down fast, up fast, a V bottom they call it. I think. I mean, you really have to anticipate you're in the midst of that formation. You just have to assume that this is happening now. If you're wrong, oh well. That's why you have the backup plan. Like if you were buying at the market with tight stops, so you're buying here with tight stops, and your stops like this, but then you have a buy limit plan that starts down here, and you just go flat. Or maybe they could stop you out, and they never come down here, and you're like, fuck, I should have built this little pullback with at least a 10 pip winner, a 5 pip winner. Maybe I'm out a little bit. And if I'm out of that size, I got enough money left to come back and buy more. So it's just like a real business. If you can dump that inventory, come back with limits, and buy more. And now when anybody asks for anything, you've got all these different sizes available to dump. And you got really huge deep pockets to take these pullbacks. I think they're crushing my position here. They're coming after me. They're not going up the way I want them to. So I'm prepared to buy more deeper. Here's how I'm going to stress the account up. If they even think about coming down here tonight, fuck them. I'm buying it. So I think anger is a strategy. Anger trading is my favorite trading. Especially when it looks like if you don't let go of these deep buys, these premium entries, and you just start to go on a campaign. That's what I like. The Wyckoff claims that traders go on a campaign. They just accumulate down here, and they just go, you know what? No, this is it. This is accumulation. We are not going to take this out. I'm betting on it. That this is the resistance we need to overcome tonight. And at some point, we've got to go after this price, and then there's a huge haul all the way back to here. Right now, it looks a pretty daunting task for the currency pair to make it above even here. So the logical thing to do is to cash out here on something if your fear is that this is really the middle of fair value here and we're redistributing, or we're kind of like ready for another markdown. And we're just going to, this is going to turn around here and start cutting into this, and see ya. Bye-bye. As we go into pretty deep historical territory. Anything below here, forget about it. But I think the fact that this is a 100 pip window as opposed to like this currency where we just smashed down in 1 hour, like this guppy is so insane that look how vicious this stop hunt is here. So you got to be prepared to buy a 30 pip window in the guppy for the same drama factor. This 1 hour chart, look at this thing. Just annihilate these people. Look how vicious this currency pair is. Here's a nice structure. This is a big pivot here coming up on the 100. But yeah, if you're running a trailing buy limit in this window here, But yeah, trend trading that? I don't know about that. What's the trend? There's always people buying down here, even though it's going down. Look at this vicious backlash. You could even draw a trend line on here. You could even make the claim that we have a swing, lower swing, kind of going down. I always look at these trend lines as the trend line to break. Just tons of sellers up here. So we put our sell banks in here. Hope for the best. That's one way to, that's one trade. And once that happens and we come flying back, then we can get in on like a, kind of go from broad to narrow. As far as the spacing goes, there's a time to trade broad, a time to trade narrow. And you just have to gauge it. Just go, oh yeah, I thought that would happen. I thought we'd go up, so to speak. And we're going to go up for 40 pips. I'm going to put orders in 10 pips apart, let's say. And granted, you could get trapped and say, God damn it, it is not even coming off of those highs. And then you'd say, well, I should have put the orders in wider. But then the moment you do that, maybe it just doesn't get there. Of course, always refer to the daily chart. And realize that this hole is very looming. Like, it once you take out this, it's like this big wedge. And by the time this thing gets smashed out, if it gets smashed out quickly to here, is when people will say, oh, it's overbought. Maybe I'll sell it. And, yeah, a lot of people probably will sell up here. But you can imagine the daily moving averages. This is probably a good trend trade. I mean, this is a walk down into what I suppose on the no nonsense, the 20 EMA people are like, yeah, it's a fucking no-brainer. Coming back to my trend line. It's actually below, that's the Alexander entry. You wait for it to come up below. You put a buy stop above. If your moving average was here, so this is the argument for the 10-period moving average. Yeah, more trades. And a more concise trend, but then more whipsaw because now it's hugging too much. So you could never optimize. You'd always curve fit anything. And I suppose that no nonsense Forex guy has like a moving average that adjusts. So it's trying to be an optimal. But look at some of these moves. I mean, at what point is this really? I mean, you're running a 5-period moving average? Okay, well. By the time it gets a clue, it's short, it's already fucking ripping the other way, and then, you prefer the 34-period moving average, so it's like, okay, I can see like 2 good trades here, a couple, who knows, it's probably going to go flat. You just lose your mind with that shit. Why do people want to see that? I want like it's a moving average crossover system. It's like been proven. I back tested it. Really on this data? Well, no, not this. Is every year is anybody seeing? Yeah, patterns repeat, but don't they just have like a slightly different character? It's like there's always the redheaded girl, but I haven't seen any redheads that look identical yet, unless they're twins. I suppose the guppy's like a redhead, I think. It's like out of fucking control. Yeah, the European, that's why the European markets, dollar against Europe is kind of like, milk toast. Everything's so consistently transacted. Oil's kind of drifty now. Everything's drifty now. They popped the cork on the Dow Jones and everything's made new highs. So we'll just have to see what happens here into the I got 2 days to make back my money. It does look like a great fucking buy here on the Hero Doll right now. I hate to chase it, but I think I'm going to have to buy this fucking thing. Man, look at this thing just crushing up. You know, the non-directional traders just went long on this thing too. The 4-hour breakout people are long. I do think we're going to reject this pretty. It pulled back too hard. It's also a reversal in RSI because it's more oversold at a higher price than this. That beautiful structure entry. Yeah, let's buy some. I think I'm just going to go. I don't want to chase this guppy. Looks like a smash up too. I want to just load the wagon on this guy. I'm going to go all in. I think it's going to follow the pound. So I might have to get out of this thing logically, but I don't know. Still like this one giant risk for mankind trade. Let's see the oil. What the fuck? That's bullish on the hourly. I'm gonna force the trade to fit my belief system. Yeah, it's like just pulling out of the station here. Just turn green. I'm good. I'm underwater on that. I did get out on some of it earlier, but it's just like trapped in my other trade. But if I have to get out, I get out, well, at the end of the week. Let's go flat. I hate to mar my record. I must be at an 80% win rate right now. I don't want to mar my record by blowing up the account. Well, Australian dollar. I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to consider this a double bottom buy. I'm going to load the wagon. And then I'm looking to pop at this top out here. I look for a more vicious stampede north because of this detour. I'm not happy about the detour, so I anger loaded it. And no stop. If we start coming down here, hopefully got enough margin left to buy more. All limits, all day, 4Ks. You know, you can't beat it. I'm actually going to martingale up down here. All hand placed. And there we go. That's my trade plan. Boy, that just feels so good to put those orders in there. I can't even begin to tell you. It just feels like, oh, that's just like the best way to make money. What if it keeps going down? Okay, well, I don't know. We'll see. Start with 10 grand. I'm risking 10 grand, I guess, is what I'm saying. The worst thing is that they just take me out, leave me $100. Come back and trade it up to 10 grand. It's a lot of work, but this could be a crazy year, I think. I think things are just going to completely change in the next 2 years financially. So it should be very, very fascinating. I think a lot of consolidation to come. A lot of things have just peaked out. So we could get a big pause and everything now. I haven't looked at palladium lately. I was calling for 1,500. Well, smashes 1,500. So, target hit on palladium. How's this fake news? They sucked me into some fucking Yahoo site. Can't even see the damn thing. I don't know when that news came out, so. Let's see here. I'm just going to hunt it down. Yes, so Palladium Mine's largest. Is it Kitco? Is that the what a stupid fucking name. Kitco. What is that? What's Kitco? Okay, 1300. 1350. Wow. Big sell off. Well, I think they hit the bell. They rung the bell there on that. So interesting. 60 days. 1600, huh? So, yeah. They crushed it. But yeah, that was, is that right? In March. Wow. I missed it. I wasn't even watching it. Oh my God. So yeah, 1600. Palladium's backed way off. So it looks like we've had our climax. I think all the metals are going to crash now. Palladium. Wow. Man, they're just going to crush it now. That was a peak moment. Wow. So I don't know. Maybe consolidation. Everybody's just going to sit home and watch TV now. The currency comes back. Doesn't look good for oil then. Oil could be doomed. This could be it. Double bottom. Because, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the trends last very long. Everything seems to be a big trap. Like, just whipsawing people to death in these markets. I think that's why the no-nonsense Forex guy, a lot of people feel the market's manipulated because it does go up and down, and I think people are kind of pissed off that it's fucking up their indicators. Or the indicator doesn't have a good signal right now, which I would be dying for. See, another reason why I can't look at indicators is because I'm looking at them going, God, if the market was only a little lower, that indicator would be a great buy. And I'm thinking, well, let me stare at that indicator. And then I'm like, gosh, I'm waiting for divergence. God damn, I'm waiting for divergence for how long now? I just can't wait for divergence. I just don't have the patience. I just want to see, like, okay, let's go down here about 100 pips. Holy shit. What happens if we keep going down 200 pips? I'm just so curious. Let's see them come down in these orders. See what happens. Fuck these idiots. What the big banks are going to do? I swear there's no nonsense Forex guys saying stuff like, we just have to follow the money. I've hated that phrase my whole life. Follow the money. What are you talking about? Wait, follow it. Like walk around behind it. Look at this poor Australian dollar. Doesn't anybody care about this currency anymore? I do, damn it. I'm on a mission to rescue this fucking currency. I hope the big boys can see my demo account. They're shaking their fucking boots. Who is this guy just putting orders in? I can't believe how people fall for this shit. Oh, I gotta know this guy trades Ikamushu clouds. He's making a ton of money. Ton of money. It's crazy. That probably has good ratios. Let's trade really lightly. Trade small. There's another answer. You're blowing up your account, just cut back the size, cut it in half, start off with a 50% reduction, and then just walk it back from there. So yeah, we've already peaked on that. We're treading water at 1300. I think it's almost the price of gold now. I would like to see the spread between. Now there's a trade. I'm sure one of these brokers has the what do they call it? Palladium. The palladium platinum spread. And the gold. Those are or just gold against palladium. I bet that chart looks insane. It looks like the euro dollar against the pound. Just wackadoodle. No trend. Not a chance. There's another problem with Forex. These are cross rates. It's not a naked instrument. You're not like trading corn here. I think corn could look brutal. Natural gas can look brutal. It's just the dollar against natural gas. So yeah, hey, I'm curious to see how the rest of the week wraps up here. It's kind of fun. I think a lot of things have hit their stride. Dow Jones, oil. Oil's all drifty. What do we got here on the NASDAQ, the front runner? The big trap up here on NASDAQ. But hey, it's kind of hard to... You'd be selling the head there. You're assuming that's the head. You'd have to be a scalper on some level there. And you did pretty good. Finally. Finally you got your fill on that. Of course, you're getting crushed. Right? If you sold here, you got crushed. But eventually it did make it. This is where they kind of killed you there a little bit. Right there, like ripped it back. But then you got this beautiful low volatility weekly candle. And you're still getting, I got to get rid of that price grid. It's too tight for this. Okay, now you can see the volatility. Yeah, they definitely trap people just perfectly. The scalpers came in right there. And I think they got their money, almost got their money out, but not really. Look at, they sold here. They're still underwater. They would have had to sell deeper and capture. You take some balls to step in front of this thing. And look how they trap these people. And possibly it is going to crap out here at this bottom, become a top, and we start walking down. But oh my God. You're pissed off if you're trying to sell this thing. The cloud nails it. The only time the cloud, if you call this like the switch is blue, start hitting the sell key, yeah, you get trapped. But you had to see the trailing trap there. But this is a nice smooth market. This is not like trading the euro dollar. Not even close, I don't think. Of course, here, I don't know. I can make the argument it looks like the euro dollar. God, I don't know. Man, look at these sell-offs. God, that's brutal. It looks different somehow than the euro dollar, than any currency pair. I don't know. I'd have to think about it because I don't see pips here. I don't know exactly how much. Look how dramatic this plunge is. I must say this is a huge trap. It's spectacular. Let me see the 1 hour chart. Maybe it makes sense here. Could you day trade this on a 1 hour cloud like this? Gosh, I don't know. Let me see. I guess so. You sell when it's blue. Put a sell limit up here. Put your first sell limit here. I guess I don't see 100 pips, but I guess this is probably some number. Right? With some kind of number. I definitely would be a buyer if it came in here. So I'm disorientated because I don't see pips. I just see like structure. So I'd have to figure out how much does this cost to buy here. But obviously, it's always going to be like this, right? Always going to have this situation where this low exists and you'd love to have that price. And then you get even a deeper version. Take out yesterday's low. My God, what a great place to buy or take profits. Just at the very tippy top, high of the day. So once again, another range trading spectacular easy range trading. It's the low of the day. You get filled. Here you get overfilled, I suppose, if you sold the high of the day here. But they didn't take out this day. I would ignore this cloud bullshit, though. It doesn't work too good here. I guess if you cherry pick, here's the one. Double top becomes the top in the cloud. All right. Yeah, you're fucking. But you could have done the same trade structurally. Yeah, you could have a. You definitely wanted to buy this thing. And you hit that target once and they came back and hit it twice. This looks like where the sellers are coming in. The trend traders are selling that rally in the blue. So you can see what the 4-period trend traders are thinking, I suppose. Does it look like a good trade? Huh. I'd definitely put the big deep buy limits in here. And maybe put a buy stop here. Some shallow buy limits here. Donate some money to that. I can't even look at some of these markets, to be honest with you. My head comes in a wrap when I look at like Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, look at all these fucking trades. But it's just like, you really have to. I don't know how you keep a metric of how you're doing. Here, it looks like I'm finally going to get this up to break even. Get the fuck out of it. Once again, I would buying some of this into the evening. So tomorrow, jobs report, and then Friday. Try to close out the week up. They're still coming after me here on this goddamn. They're really punishing me on this Australian dollar. Sellers are trying to come in here. People want to crush it. Try to make me wrong. Those fuckers. So I won't stand for it. If I have to blow this fucking account up and open another one, and what I'll do on the next one, I'll buy fucking more. I call it fucking martingale. I should sell a course called the super how to mastering martingale. I always had those mastering courses. How to martingale the market. How to fuck over all of the trend traders. Or the anti-martingalists. Just the idea that you're scaling into something is on some level, although people are saying you're doubling your bet, but if you tighten your stop, if you double the tightness of your stop, you actually have linear risk. Is that martingale? Maybe not. But it's martingale-esque. You're getting in. You're buying more. The more it goes down, the more you buy. But you can't get so greedy that you deny this void here, and realizing that the prudent thing to do is to bet the ranch and then some at this price here all the way down. You're just going to go, oh, yeah. Because even this ticket eventually becomes a baby winner. Baby winner. And this whole kind of like, oh, if we can't get above here, we can't get above here. People are buying it. It's just nothing but 20 pips of madness. Then, her water broke. She's going to have a baby after all. I get that. So, it looks like it's going to be a girl. I don't know. No, maybe this is the girl trade. The bears, the boys go up. I don't know. They have bulls and bears. Okay, I'm just saying. We could also have the sex trading platform where this is Selling's gay, buying's heterosexual. Right? Dick up, dick down trades. I don't know. There's got to be a new way to do Forex coaching. Trading's just too boring, I think. That's the big problem. I think it's going to tread water. My hopes and dreams is that we reject this floor. We weasel here. We break out. We run. And it's a boy. Right, Mrs. Walker. Tommy, can you hear me? It's a boy. All right, that's it. I'm going to ride the storm out. See what happens here.